Some people have really interesting jobs, and some people have really interesting hobbies. You know, you're a doctor, you're a therapist, you're a lawyer, you're someone who gets to deal with all these different kinds of people and ideas and situations every day. You know, as you get closer to the end of your time on this planet, you start to think, man, well, I've lived a life. I have some great memories and some great things that I've experienced. I have lived. And then there's people like me who spend, you know, their free time talking about movies like The fucking Granny. The Granny. So The Granny stars Stella Stevens from the Poseidon Adventure. My, how the mighty have fallen. And in this film, she's this almost Ebenezer Scrooge-like kind of miser, is very old, crabby, just everything sucks and I hate the world and I hate everybody. She's this very... Actually, I kind of scared myself just then with how good I think I did an impression of that character. She hates her whole family. The only person that Granny doesn't hate is her granddaughter Kelly, played by Shannon Weary. Shannon Weary, you guys probably know from a lot of softcore porn and silk stockings and just a lot of any movie or TV show where she could take off her top. That's basically where you know Shannon Weary from. One day, this guy comes over, a mysterious guy, dressed all in black, got a cross around his neck. You'd think he's a priest, and you're probably right, but he's not, so you're wrong anyway. Brings over a package for Granny that turns out to be an elixir. It's this kind of youth potion a la Death Becomes Her. And Granny decides that she's going to try to take this potion so that she can live forever, so that her greedy family will never get her money. It backfires, of course, this being a horror movie. If it was that simple, it wouldn't be any fun. It backfires. She takes the potion, she doesn't follow the rules right, and she ends up coming back as this supernatural zombie killer, a la every other horror movie ever made. Other than Stella Stevens, the only name in this movie that I really like to drop is Wally Pfister. Wally Pfister just won an Oscar a few years ago for Inception. Here, in The Granny, he's the cinematographer. Just goes to show you guys, you do a shitty movie like The Granny, and 15 years later, you could have an Academy Award. Everyone's got to start somewhere. Now, The Granny isn't that horrible. You just can't watch it like a horror movie. You can't expect this movie to be scary. You can't expect this movie to keep you up at night. Instead, you really got to expect the movie to just have you laughing your ass off from beginning to end. And it does this really well. Every single murder in this film is hilarious. Every single character in this film is hilarious. Sandy Helberg, especially, who plays one of the older members of the family. He's a doctor, and his expressions are enough to make me want to spit beer out my nose when I watch this film. He's always got to kind of overreact to everything. He does a lot of this face where he's just kind of like, I can't really do it. But it's just, everyone seems to get that this is not meant to be a horror movie, that this is meant to be silly, and this is meant to be stupid, and this is meant to almost be a parody of films that are along the same plot, that are along the same lines. As far as downsides go, the only thing I really have against this movie, other than the fact that some of the dialogue is kind of cheesy, sometimes in an effort to appear satirical, the movie does just kind of seem like it ran out of ideas, that some of the lines, you kind of think, man, that's the best. If they were going to reference The Exorcist, or if they were going to reference Freddy Krueger, if they were going to... couldn't they have done it in some way that was a little smarter than this? That, and the fact that it does take the movie a bit to get going. I think the first half of the movie is just kind of shenanigans with members of the family interacting, and everything's kind of hit home. Okay, none of them like Shannon Weary's character except for the grandma. We get it. The grandma is just this crusty old bitch. We get it. They're all greedy and arrogant. You know, we get it. But we get it for 45 minutes or so before anything actually happens. Also, you can see the end of it coming from about a mile away. By the end of it, I mean the last 30 seconds. How there's going to be that one last scare, and you see it coming, and it really has no impact. Mix the fact that you see it coming with kind of how poorly and cheaply it's done, Ugh. So The Granny gets 3 stars, at least from me. I think this is an extremely funny movie. It's one of those movies that I can watch over and over and over again and laugh at every time. But I could also say that about Tommy Boy and Happy Gilmore. As a horror film, The Granny really doesn't work that well. As a comedy, it's absolutely brilliant. And if you want to have a few side-splitting laughs along with your gore and gratuitous nudity, then this is a great film to try out. Also, let's face it, where else are you going to see this old, crippled woman throw wrestling moves at an obnoxious teenage boy? I wish every movie had a scene like that. So that's my review of The Granny. Stay tuned, I got a couple more video blogs coming up, as well as a couple more reviews. And as I said a little earlier this week, I am going to try to do these reviews a little more frequently and get around to some of the requests that have been posted. Again, and as always, if there's a horror, action, crime, or comedy film that you think doesn't get talked a whole lot about and you'd like to hear my opinion on it, let me know in the comment section below and I'll see what I can do about getting that review up for you. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more Priceless B movies.